Steve Smith has scored another fabulous century, moving up to 27 Test centuries in his young career. The match is very nicely poised. I think India had a good day. Many people thought Australia would be able to score somewhere between 400 and 500 runs. That wasn't to be. They scored 338. Jadeja was India's star. He can do batting, bowling, and fielding, and he just seems to be in the game at all the times, and happens to be this odd figure who doesn't play some games, plays other games, not an automatic selection, but whenever he does play, he's everywhere. So a very interesting case of team selection. Ravindra Jadeja, just a very kind of a mystifying figure, really brings so much value, but nevertheless he's every now and then playing a match and not playing, which leaves you kind of wondering why he is not played every single match. Anyways, this video is a short analysis of Steve Smith's batting. Everyone talks about Steve Smith's batting. He is an artist who has completely changed the way we think about batting. But many people have said this many a times, and there's too much obsession over his fidgety movements and how odd he is when he is at the crease. But I think a lot of that talk can be fun, and a little bit of banter about how hard he taps the bat on the ground and how he goes no run, and just his antics and the way he leaves the ball. A lot of those things can be fun to see, but it leaves the cricket viewer kind of thirsty to know exactly what is he doing that is so different than a conventional batsman. The short answer to that question is Steve Smith is actually a very orthodox player who has just manipulated or changed some of the steps in how orthodoxy is supposed to work in cricket's batting. Okay, so the orthodox cricketer is supposed to keep his feet as far apart as the width of his shoulder, and then usually what an orthodox cricketer is taught to do is to either press their front leg, which for a right-hander would be their left leg, press it forward, and that allows you to lean backwards. Because if you think of a boxer, right? If I'm boxing, see, I'm pressing forward a little. I'm not out here, I'm up here. What that allows me to do, it allows me to evade, because if I'm pressed forward, I can go back. If I'm too back, it's hard for me to press forward. Whenever you're on the front, when you lean, when you transfer most of your body weight onto your toes, and it allows you to kind of back as well. All right, so it's very easy to be up here, shifting your body weight onto your left toes, and then to go boop a little back, okay, while maintaining your head balance. That's what I really mean. Of course, you can be back here and come up here, but you see my head is moving too much. I can't keep my eyes concentrated on the ball if I'm going this. But if I'm up here, I can go up, back. See, my eyes have not moved too much. Whoop, up. So Steve is very orthodox in that his legs actually, they start off being really tight to each other, which is fine too. I mean, if you look at some of the old examples, you look at like videos of Gary Sobers, you look at videos of there's a video of Ian Chappell describing how to bat on YouTube as well. Some of these old batters from the 70s, the 60s, their feet are very closely tied up to each other. When they're standing, they don't even look like they are ready to face the bowler. So in other words, what they differ so much from modern day cricketers is that a lot of these modern day cricketers, even if they're only 5'9", 5'10" tall, which is sort of the height I'm at, you'll see their feet are like this far apart, as if they're like 6'3" or 6'4". So they stand really far apart. And I think it's it's kind of like cheating the rules, because what allows you to do when you're standing that far apart is it allows you to be very solid, like you're not going to be moving a lot too much, keeps you very still. And it's all good if the ball is not bouncing too much, because if you drive the ball and you're driving full pitch ball, it allows you to just keep doing that repeatedly. But if the bowler is varying their length and you have to go back, you can come under some trouble. So having that wide apart feet, it's perfectly fine if the pitch is flat, because you can just drive through the ball. Just stand, boom, driving through the ball. Drive. You're so still, but you just are, all you're doing is just like moving that bat through, right? But if you are standing really close to your legs, now you can move around. You can go a little up, you can go a little back. Again, think about a dancer, right? A dancer's, their legs are not that far apart. The farther apart your legs are going to be, the less you're going to be able to move, right? Um, so Steve, as an orthodox batsman, when he's tapping his bat on the ground, don't think about how hard he's tapping the bat. Instead, look at how close his feet are. Okay, what that allows him to do is now you can, as the bowler is running in, from being this far apart, he brings it up to like that far apart, which is again is the width of his shoulder. It's not that far apart, nevertheless, right? He, as Ian Chappell says, you got to just like let the knees be nice and resting. You can't just have your legs too fully straight. It just got to be a little bit relaxed, right? Just nice and relaxed. Your knees are nice and relaxed so that they can move. That's basically the point. Just think about a boxer. Think about a boxer getting ready, right? Their knees are not all straight. Just a little bit of bent in your knee that allows you to be just calm, relaxed, comfortable. Basically, it maximizes your ability to move at a split second of a decision. Here's where Steve becomes revolutionary, though, because oftentimes when we are taught to bat in an orthodox cricketing manual, our body, many Pakistanis will say it turns into a kenchi. Kenchi is a scissor, right? Our body starts to look like a scissor because this being your front foot, it crosses across your hips, your head, and your back leg, right? So like a scissor, your front leg starts to forward press. And if this was like back right here, right, like kind of more like that, but I mean, I can't twist my forefinger, but it starts to like, imagine if this finger was kind of dislocated and it was like going horizontally, and this was your front leg, right? This is what a conventional batter is supposed to look like. I mean, I wonder if I can demonstrate it, but probably not. But anyways, maybe I can. So let's see if this works any better. I'll just focus on my leg, maybe bring it down here. Maybe this could be helpful. Okay, I think this is pretty helpful. So if you just look at my legs, right, a kenchi is supposed to be this, right? This is what an orthodox batsman position he gets or she gets into while the ball is being delivered, right? Forward press, you're standing, and then this. So this leg is going diagonal, kind of diagonal. The back leg is still horizontal, 90-degree, but the front leg is kind of going diagonal across it, right? So it makes your legs look like a scissor. That's what Pakistanis called a kenchi, right? Kenchi is fine. I mean, Yunus Khan had a kenchi the fear of a kenchi is you can get your legs can like start to obstruct your vision. In which case, if a ball is coming in, if the bowler is attacking off middle leg, just attacking the wickets, and the ball is darting in, you can get yourself in trouble getting LBW'd out, because if the ball thuds into the pads and it's not moving far too prodigiously and missing the leg stump, or if it's not too high and missing the stumps altogether, it's a good chance it's hitting middle and leg, and you can get into trouble. So all you have to do is miss the ball and you'll be in trouble of getting LBW'd, right? Or you can get caught out leg side. All of that happens because of being a little overbalanced. Your head is tilting a little too this way, right? Which is why oftentimes you will see cricket coaches say that, stay nice and tall, because if I'm nice and tall, this is a pretty tall position. I'm 5'9". Right now I'm about 5'8" because my knees are nicely, bent. So this would be like a little too straight. No, just, knees bent, nice and tall, right? So if I'm nice and tall, my head is still. A lot of people will kind of go like this. All right, this is the trouble you get into if the ball is pitching and then it's moving in, if it's an in-swing ball. If I'm a little too here, which is oftentimes I get into trouble as well. The most frustrating way of getting out, you get a little thin inside edge, keeper catches it, it's going down leg, and it's just frustrating to get out that way, because it seems like a harmless ball. It seems like you should have been able to flick it for a 4 down to deep square leg or fine leg, right? But instead you kind of do this and it catches your inside edge, the keeper catches the ball, you get out, and you feel very frustrated because you never felt in danger when the ball was being delivered. But again, why that happens, your head is tilting a little too much. So they say stay nice and tall, which is a good advice. You should stay nice and tall like that. But at the same time, nice and tall doesn't really mean being too rigid, right? So when I see a lot of modern batsmen who are not like Steve Smith, I see a lot of rigidity. So people say Steve Smith is this finicky kind of a guy, looks really anxious. He's actually really calm and relaxed. It's the modern cricketer with this very still base who looks actually way more stressed out to me. Because what they do is, again, their feet is wide apart. So you can't see my feet right now. Maybe if I were to bring it down. See, they go this far apart. This is way too far apart. I'm 5'9". I should be up here somewhere. But they go all the way like this, as if they're 6'3" or 6'4" tall. And then they're kind of stuck, and they're just kind of going like this. They look far more stressed out. What Steve does is he keeps his leg really close to each other, okay, like way close to one another. Just that much of separation. Then he's banging his bat, and his bat is positioned somewhere between point and gully, which goes against the cricketing manual. They say your bat should be pointing to the first slip, right? But before I get to those unorthodox things, I wanted to emphasize the orthodox, right? The orthodox is his legs are very close to each other, and then he opens them up just a little bit as the bowler is coming in. He opens up a little bit, and these are very orthodox positions to be in, okay? He's ready to move. Here's where the unorthodoxy comes. Instead of the scissor, where your front leg goes a little diagonally and starts to cross. So like your back leg is like this and your front leg is like this. Instead of doing that, what Steve does is that he moves the back leg out there, okay? And the front leg is just following the back leg, while the head is balanced at all times. This is Steve Smith's genius. Steve Smith realized that why should I stand still on my leg stump guard and allow the batsman, the bowler, to test my ability to read my off stump out here and get me outside nicking, inside nicking, etc. Right? Because the most difficult ball to face if you're a right-handed batsman from a right-handed bowler bowling over the wicket is a ball that hits the good channel, a good length, not too full, not too short, and it's hitting somewhere around off stump, maybe an inch outside off stump, maybe just on off stump, right? Because you have to decide whether you're going to leave the ball, if you're going to play the ball, are you right behind the line of the ball? If the ball diverts outswings, you can get an outside nick, etc. Right? Glenn McGrath is a great example. He just kept pitching the ball on a really good length. You couldn't go back and cut it. You couldn't go forward and drive it. So you're kind of caught in between, and your bat would hang out here somewhere, right? And then it could be nicked inside. You know, you can LBW, leg before the wicket, chopping the ball onto the off stump, getting nicked onto the keeper, first slip, etc. All are in play. Those are the problems you would find yourself in, right? What Steve Smith decided to do is he did a cheating that is far more revolutionary than just like opening your feet wide apart. Because when you open your feet wide apart, you get into trouble on short pitch bowling because the thing is, if your feet are nice and close to each other, like a boxer, you can go back, right? If I'm close, ball's coming, I go back, boom. And there's my vicious pull or a hook shot that you can play, right? So good boxers can go back and hit the ball. If I'm far too out here, now the ball is going to hit me because I'm going to start to collapse. That's what happens when your feet are far too wide apart. A lot of Pakistanis have this issue. Imam ul Haq has this issue. Fakhr Zaman has this issue. Tons of them have this issue. Dwan Olivier completely exposed Pakistan's batting on that tour of South Africa where he took like 27 wickets just pitching short pitch balls, right? Why? Because their technique is too modern. Feet are too far wide apart. They're not close to each other. So the body cannot move. It can't vacillate and fluctuate like the stream of a river, right? The body of water. Your physical body as a batsman should be like the body of water, should be able to move, right? But if it's too far apart, it's clogged up. It's not going to move. So Steve is nice and close so he can move. Where he differs from old day cricketers in the 70s, till now he's like a 1970 cricket player, like a guy from the past. He's actually not unorthodox. He's super orthodox. He's super anti-modern batsman. Where he becomes revolutionary, which is like something modern players don't do, nor did the old players did, was that instead of moving his front foot forward like this, he moves his back foot from leg stump all the way to middle and off stump, while the head is still very balanced, right? So the head is not going divorced from his legs. Head is balanced. The reason why the head is balanced is his body is nice and close to each other, right? Head is balanced. It's keep watching the ball, watch the ball, but his back leg is all the way around off and middle and middle stump, which means his entire body is now covering the stumps. that can be a problem because if the ball hits your body anywhere, you're probably going to be LBW'd out. So the ballers try to aim at his legs. But the reason why he's got so much self-belief in himself is his head is so well balanced. He knows that he's watching the ball closely. So he's taking a lot of risk, but he wants to take this risk. He wants the ballers to bowl right at him, right onto his legs that are defending, literally shielding the stumps, because he has so much trust in his eyes to be able to read the ball and to play it straight down the ground. Okay. What Steve Smith realized is that there's just as much risk in getting out if you're letting the baller see your middle and off stump as there is if you're able to just like completely like obstruct those stumps and have your legs come in front, right? But he takes the risk of getting LBW or being caught in leg gully or square leg, and he's completely changed how bowlers attack him. Most bowlers attack your offside game, your ability to nick the ball, to slips, cover, point, gully, etc. He has turned all these fast bowlers and spinners as well to attack him on his onside game, which is usually the side of the game where bowlers tend to defend the batters. But here, the bowlers are attacking him. They're attacking him by placing a silly mid-on, a short mid-wicket, a square leg, a gully, a leg gully, etc. Right? And he takes that risk and he says, I don't care. If you want to get me out like that, so be it. Everyone's going to get out anyways, which is a good mentality to be as well, right? So what we're going to do now is just look at one of these strokes from the highlights of his innings. I wanted to show the stroke where he actually hits a full-pitched Bumrah attempted Yorker down the ground. But that video, unfortunately, is not available. So instead, what we're going to do is we're just going to look at another of his videos where he hits the ball down the ground on drive for 4. And I want us to look at that whole progression, the orthodoxy and the lack of orthodoxy in it, right? So we're going to make it go big. Right on. Now watch how close his legs are. You're not going to be able to see it because they're not going to show from that angle right now, but his legs are very close to each other. They're shoulder width apart. They're not too far apart. Okay. His bat is pointing to gully as opposed to first slip, but that is his hands, the way he moves his hands, right? He has said you should never change the way you swing the way you swing your swing, basically, whether it's for golf or tennis, etc. Right? In tennis as well, you swing your hand and you hit a forehand, right? He says use whatever technique you have where you can feel nice and comfortable, right? So it starts his hands start at gully, but by the time he comes up, he's actually at first slip. Okay, by the time of contact, the bat is coming down from first slip. So again, it ends where the coaches want you, but it starts in gully. And why does he do that? He just feels comfortable. That motion of the bat going from gully to first slip makes him feel at peace with himself, makes him feel in good place, right? As opposed to standing still with the bat facing the gully, right? The point of the coaching manual is that you should eventually, by the time of contact, have your bat coming down from gully, because when it comes from gully, it comes with a straight face. There's as much bat in front of you. The bat is not too tilted, right? So you can contact the ball with the middle of the bat. So he just feels more comfortable doing that from gully to coming down onto first slip. And you should try that. Maybe it works for you as well, right? That's his point. Just see what works for you. So we're moving beyond the bat swing, and we're just going to look at the orthodoxy and unorthodoxy. So he's very orthodox right now, super orthodox, different than most modern day player, more akin to someone like an Ian Chappell from the 1970s than a Kevin Peterson from 2009. And there is the unorthodox move. This is where he's completely flipped the game from the Kenchi, the scissor, to this is more like I don't know, I'm not going to give it a name, but you can see his back foot still very horizontal, but it's covering middle and off stump, and actually kind of a little bit of outside of off stump too, right? Back leg is still where it started off from, right? He hasn't done the forward press at all. So there's no Kenchi, there's no scissor. The back leg is still horizontal, but it's moved to middle and off stump. The front foot is where it was. The head, most importantly, is look how still his head is, right? It's still pointing nice down the front, the off stump. And I think that's the position you want to be in. It's pointing right down the off stump. It's not too far tilted this way, okay? And he's nice and comfortable, knees nicely bent, not too stressed out. And now he is in a position to hit the ball. So now the front foot does its press, right? It's no more horizontal, it's going vertical. The legs are pointing towards the ball, right? It's preparing for the ball, the head watching the ball, just nicely position the head underneath the legs. Those are the conventional orthodox things you're taught. And like the risk he takes is if this ball goes on and thirds onto his off stump, onto his front leg, I mean, he's probably getting LBW, even if it's hitting somewhere on the left edge of his leg, because he's exposing the leg stump. There's more chances of it hitting the stump because he's basically obstructing the stump, right? So chances of him getting LBW are high. But because his head is so still, he takes that risk. He wants to be able to attack that ball from that position. And right there is where the shot ends, right? The shot goes and then he's able to, his body flourishes, kind of like blooms outwards, right? Meaning he was so well balanced, he wasn't so still that he would just like, you know, kind of vomit. The body doesn't vomit, it just nicely opens up. And that's the end of the shot. That's what usually happens after the ball, you hit the ball and then your body kind of opens up a little bit, right? But it will only open up so nicely if it starts off the legs being nicely close to each other, not looking too still. And so this is an example I wanted to show of Steve Smith's batting. And the point of this video is to completely challenge the viewpoint that Steve Smith looks odd or that he looks strange when he's batting. There is nothing odd about Steve Smith. If anything to be gained from this video is that Steve's batting actually is far more orthodox than most orthodox batters that you will have seen, right? Most of these other batters are modern batters. Steve is actually a very orthodox batsman, but he's completely flipped orthodoxy's rule about about your front, your left leg, or in the case of left-handers, your right leg, your front leg going forward. He doesn't make the front leg go forward. He makes the back foot go further down the horizontal line, covering middle and off stump, while the head is still very balanced, right? But he makes all those movements after the ball is released, which is one of the key things, regardless of which way you go. If you like the 70s players or if you like Steve Smith, I love both types. I love a Gary Sobers. I love the highlights of his 6 6s, that highlight, and I love Steve Smith. But I love both of these examples far more than I like some of these modern batsmen, right? Who are many to be named, and they do fine most of the time, but then they get found out against the short ball, as well as against the spin every now and then, because they're just not fluid enough. Their body doesn't move like a body of water. So congratulations to Smith, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.